What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. If you're listening to the audio version, it is Friday, November 19th. Happy birthday to my cousin Aaron, to my good friend Powell Baggett. And by the way, I proposed on November 19th. I know that because I ruined both their birthdays when I proposed and stole the thunder from them. If you're watching on YouTube, it's Thursday, November 18th. And you can always watch us on YouTube when we do the pick show, at least, there's not a holiday. Thursdays, 1 p.m. Also, mock draft show with Ryan Wilson. Tuesdays, 1 p.m. live. You can hang out in the chat with us. And every night after primetime games, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, we go live on YouTube. We give away Brinson Sucks hats. So come win one of those. Someone who's always sporting a Brinson Sucks hat. In his mind, at least. Actually, two people who are probably sporting them most of the time. Pete Briscoe and RJ White. What's up, guys?
You got engaged during football season?
Yeah. On a Friday.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
You didn't get married during football season? Engaged.
I'm surprised. It might be the upset of the year that you didn't get married during football season.
Actually, in hindsight, if you work in football, you should get married in football season.
When was Robbie born? When's Robbie's birthday?
January 3rd, 2014. The next day.
So you had the baby during football season too. You don't time things very well, Brinson.
RJ.
No kidding. Big surprise.
Yeah, I mean, sorry for not timing the baby being born correctly. Actually, so Robbie was born on a Friday at like 5:00. And then that Saturday was that crazy comeback by Andrew Luck over the Chiefs in the playoffs. When I think Chip Kelly and the Eagles beat the Saints, or was it the other way around? And then the Sunday was Phillip Rivers and the Chargers beat Andy Dalton. And then that night was, I think Kaepernick took down the Packers, maybe. Does that sound about right? Those 4 playoff games? Wild card weekend, baby? Literal wild card weekend, baby.
You had a child during football season.
I mean, my wife got pregnant and gave birth 9 months later. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's not.
It's like
I didn't go around planning it that hard. I'll tell you that much.
Me and 2 of my brothers were all had October birthdays. So my dad was like he was a New Year's Eve guy, huh? Right in there, New Year's.
Oh! He's a big fan of the calendar turning over.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. As Debo points out, Chip Kelly never won a playoff game, so I guess it was Saints beat Eagles. Then does that make sense? To look up 2014 playoffs real quick. This is the Best Bets show. We'll probably go off on a tangent, as one is wont to do, but. We'll dive in, give you our picks for Colts 45, Chiefs 44 Saturday, Saints 26, Eagles 24, Chargers 27, Bengals 10, 49ers 23, Packers 20. Incredible weekend. Holding my little tiny son, Pete, sitting in the hospital, watching Phillip Rivers deliver Andy Dalton another playoff loss. Suck it, Breach, even though you're not here. Anywho, let's get to the bets. Or actually, let's recap last week. I'm trying to think. How do we do? I actually don't have a recap in. How do we do?
You know how you did. You had a good week.
We all had winning records.
Did we do good?
Yeah.
We all did good.
Did we do good?
You actually had a winning record.
4-1 for me? Wow. Is that back-to-back good weeks for me?
At this rate, you might reach 500 by the end of the season.
I know. I think I'm in like 4th place among all experts in terms of the standings. That's how bad things are getting over at CBSSports.com. Pete 4-2, RJ 3-2. Overall records: RJ 32-27, Pete 33-20. Yeah, we 27-38. Good God, the won't hit parlay didn't hit because it's a won't hit parlay. We had the Packers -3, the Saints plus. Oh, the Raiders. Man,
I didn't put that one in. You two did.
You hung up.
But you had them on the site. That's why we did it, because you and Brinson both had them, and I liked them too. So
there was some. Yeah. Was there an over we liked that would have come in? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm sure if we liked it, it was probably a miss.
Yeah, we'll get to parlay one of these weeks.
So I technically have the most victories.
Yes, that's how 33 is more than 32. And I have the most losses. Yeah. That's how that works.
I mean, if we're just trying to pile up victories and we don't care about losses, I'll pick every single game as the best bet if that's how it works.
Look at RJ. I knew I could light that fuse.
I have the most victories. Like the losses don't matter. I have the most victories.
No, but it was fun to watch your reaction. That's why I did it. It was easy.
All right, you'll get a rise out of me when you start not knowing how math works. That's the thing that gets me the worst.
It has nothing
people
to do
not knowing
with
how math works.
It's just I have the most
victories.
I have the fewest losses.
Huh?
I have the fewest losses.
Yeah, I got the fewest wins. Suck it, nerds. All right, let's
go. You have the fewest wins and the most losses if you want to add that all up.
Yes, that's how math works. Let's get to week 11 best bets. And we start in Minnesota, where the Packers are -2 at the Vikings with an over under 49. Fun fact, in the 3 of the last 4 seasons, the team that won the Packers-Vikings game in Minnesota advanced to the NFC Championship game. And then a fact that I looked up last night, 8 out of the last 14 NFC title games have included an NFC North team, 9 total teams if you count the Bears-Packers game for 2010. Kind of surprising. Kirk Cousins has actually been good against Green Bay lately, 2-3-1, 12-5 TD to interception ratio, and 256.3 yards per game. Pete, are you backing early afternoon, non-primetime Kirk Cousins as a dog at home?
No, I am not. Look, primetime is one thing. Big game is another, and this is a big game. It's a huge game for Minnesota. They have to win this game or their division hopes are done. They're going to have to hope like heck they get the wild card race. But I think the way the Green Bay defense is playing is outstanding. We haven't seen the best of the Green Bay offense yet. We know that. They've had so many injuries on that side of the ball, guys going in and out, and now Jones isn't there, so that's concerning. But I'm going to take the Packers minus the points. I think Rodgers will play well, as he always does, and I think that defense will limit what the Vikings do. So I'm going to lay the points. Give me a best bet on the Packers -2.
That Green Bay defense is playing excellent right now, despite facing Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson in their last 3 games. I know Russell wasn't his normal self; he rushed back from that injury, but that's still impressive to play as well as they have been, considering those matchups. The offense didn't put many points on the board last week. They still had almost 400 yards, and they got there in the end. I think Minnesota can run the ball against this defense, but I'm not sure that if Rodgers is on his game and it becomes a shootout, that Kirk Cousins is going to win a shootout. Minnesota's defense had a great week, but it was torched by 2 good offenses prior to that, and Green Bay has Rodgers, so I consider them a good offense. So I would lean to the Packers as well. Line was 2.5. It looks like it's coming down a little bit. So it seems like the sharps are on the Vikings. So maybe we can get this closer to pick them before we take the Packers. I'd be more interested in them at that sense, but I don't really like the Vikings. I don't think there's any value playing the Vikings right now.
I've got a best bet on the Packers as well. The line movement is it's definitely terrifying because, you would think that people wouldn't want to fade Aaron Rodgers. I think he's in the middle of sort of I don't know what you call it, like an immunization spite tour, whatever it is. Like he's going to go into Minnesota knowing that with everything that's going on in the NFL in total, but also specifically in the NFC, like the Rams are losing games. The Buccaneers just laid an egg to Washington. Go into Minnesota. You can, 1, really hurt the playoff hopes of a division rival. 2, you can essentially lock up the division, even if we already agree it's over. And then 3, you can really put yourself in a great position to try and get that 1 seed. This is a big game, and Rodgers is mad. He's been playing mad. He played mad against the Seahawks, even though they put up a great defensive effort. I like A.J. Dillon over rush yards in this game as well, and A.J. Dillon receiving rush yards too. I don't know what Steve Dazio was doing in Boston College, but he wasn't using A.J. Dillon the right way because that guy can actually catch the ball. He's a monster to bring down, and I think he breaks out in this game. It shows it makes the Packers contingent on Twitter, looking at Aaron Nagler specifically, that likes to point out how the Packers did a good job in that draft, are going to be peacocking after this A.J. Dillon game, and I think Rodgers lights up the secondary. I got the Packers as a best bet in this spot along with Pete. Steelers at the Chargers.
I don't want you with me. I'm
hot right now. I want you with me.
I have a question. How much is immunization spite tour worth to the line?
3.5 points.
Okay, that's a huge swing.
You think Aaron Rodgers is going to try harder because he had to miss a game because he wasn't vaccinated?
Oh my gosh, try harder.
Try harder. He's going to play harder. He's going to care more, Pete.
Yeah, I bet he is.
Steelers at the Chargers. The Chargers are -5.5, although this line may have moved down a little bit more. Is it getting closer to 4.5 or 5? I could be wrong there. Over under 47. And I think we have our first parlay action here because the Steelers are getting extra points since they're not at home, Pete.
Well, they are at home.
But
They will
anyone
be
who
at home.
recalls the last game will remember that they played friggin' Renegade in the stadium as the terrible towels were rocking that little soccer stadium. So tell me why we should back the freaking Chargers here.
It is a home game for the Steelers. There will be more Steelers fans in that place than there will be Chargers fans, and it's going to feel like a Steelers home game. I think that their defense will limit Justin Herbert, and part of the reason they will limit Justin Herbert is because Joe Lombardi and Brendan Staley limit Justin Herbert. He's not the same quarterback. Their offense doesn't fit what he does. He doesn't. You have these receivers outside. He doesn't drive the ball down the field. That's perfect to play against the Steelers. Steelers love that. Go ahead, play it that way, and I think they're going to be able to run. Look at the yards per attempt rushing that the Chargers give up. It's not quite 5 right now. It went down a little bit, but 4.9, close to 5. I think the Steelers are going to run, and control the clock, no matter who played quarterback. And I think they not only cover this number, I think they win the game outright.
Yeah, this line started at 4, and when it became clear that Big Ben wasn't necessarily guaranteed to come back, it moved up. And I think that's what happened with Rodgers last week. You know, we weren't sure he was for sure coming back, and then the line moved up. But I think Ben's probably back in this game. It'll be tough to cover, I think, with Big Ben's out. But either way, Pittsburgh's game plan will be just to run Najee, because Pete's right. Chargers rush D, 32nd in yards per rush, 32nd in rush attempts. People know what their weakness is, and they attack it. And that lines up with what Pittsburgh wants to do. So I think the movement is because of that Ben news and what's happening there on Pittsburgh. Would I have Pittsburgh as a best bet too? Because the Chargers place Bosa and Tillery on the COVID-19 list. So it's like, that's a big makes things a lot easier for Pittsburgh if you don't have to deal with Joey Bosa. The Chargers offense struggled against mediocre Minnesota defense last week, even with Minnesota's defensive line injuries. They lost their top defensive pass rusher. And so if TJ Watt misses this game, I don't know that necessarily that Pittsburgh sunk, and he might not even miss time. That injury might be not as bad as it seemed initially. So you're right. This will be a home game for Pittsburgh. There's no way they should be laying 5.5. I think the money line is a great play because you're getting value there, but I love getting the points as a best bet. So Pittsburgh plus 5.5 is one of my best bets too.
Yep. I got the Steelers as well. Chargers suck against the run, as RJ pointed out, 32nd in DVOA. And you lose Tillery and Joey Bosa more than likely. Although I think Bosa is eligible to play, even though he's not vaccinated. Did I read that right?
He's got to pass the test, I think. He's a close contact.
Oh, right. He didn't test positive. He's a close contact, non-vaccination. So he's got to pass negative test. He could still play. I think Tillery is actually out, right? Because he's positive test. Am I wrong? I mean, anyway, at any rate, I don't care if they're both in. I still like the Steelers. This, again, home game for Pittsburgh. It will be tons of Steelers fans there. This is just a bad matchup for the Chargers. They are terrible against the run. The Steelers want nothing more than to feed Najee Harris. Big Ben's playing pretty well the last few weeks, and I like the Steelers to win this game outright.
Are you on a best bet with them too?
Yep.
Oh God.
Let's put in the parlay.
He's hot. He's let him go ride him.
You should be mad that I should be mad that you're on your stinky rotten apple ass is on my picks because I
went 4-2. I went 4-2 last week.
It's not 4-1.
Oh my God!
Check the numbers, son.
RJ, are you happy he's with us on the Steelers pick?
He's hot now. We got to ride it while he's hot.
Yeah,
sure.
I run hot and I run cold. I run real hot and real cold.
You were hot last week. You're going cold this week, which means our pick.
I mean, I just assume since we didn't see him on the rundown that Debo sent, I just assume he made that pick after he saw our picks. So
I actually had him down on is it the Notepad
app?
You know what,
last RJ, night? That's a good point. You would think that as the host of this podcast, that when everybody's stuff is on the rundown, you would think that the host would have his picks in there. He hasn't had him in there since we've been doing this.
Okay, one, that's not true. But ironically, I will say, and Debo, you can back me up here, I did a ton of prep work for this specific podcast, and just the one thing I didn't do was send in my best bets.
Pete, over under 1:02 p.m. Eastern time today that Brinson sent his best bets.
I'll take 103.
104.
So do I win?
Oh, 104.
I swear to God, I had them on my notepad.
It's amazing.
And I didn't know which balls were because I built up my rundown last night. I spent all day doing some stuff for work and doing some stuff around the house. Raking some leaves, vacuuming the living room. I pressed the button on the room, but I let him vacuum, but you get the point. Colts at Bills. Bills -7, over under 50. This is the most surprising stat I saw in our research packet. The Bills are 1-2 against teams with a winning record and 5-1 against teams with 5-1 against teams with a losing record. In fairness, the Colts are 0-4 against, Yes, 5-1 against teams with a losing record. The Colts also 0-4 against teams with a winning record. Pete, do we get the elite Bills or the old 69 Jaguars lost Bills in this matchup?
We're getting the elite Bills. I don't look. I don't know how elite that they are right now. They're not playing to that, even though they played the Jets and that was a perfect tune-up last week. The Colts aren't that good. I mean, the Colts are not. Look, they can run the ball a little bit. The Bills are good against the run. They're good defense. And they're going to put it on Carson Wentz. And I think that for this spot, I don't want to lay the big number, but I'll take them as part of a teaser. I'll lay the 1, but I think the Colts are frauds. I really do. I think they're not. That's not a good football team. And so I think the Bills will rock them a little bit here. I'll put them. I was a little leery of the 7.5, but I'll knock it down to 1.5 and take them as part of a teaser.
Those have actually played a lot of bad defenses, a lot of bad teams. This is really the first true test, I think, of whether the offense is actually fixed. I don't count what they did against the Jets. Indy struggled to put Jacksonville away. They're still 2 overtime losses away from 7 straight wins. So if they were coming off of 7 straight wins instead of, they were 5-0 in regulation and then those 2 ties, I think we'd like them a little more. We rag on Wentz for those terrible interceptions against Tennessee, and we think that, that's kind of the trademark. A quarterback throws a bad interception in their own side of the field. They're like, he just Wentzed it. But he only has 3 interceptions all year, and he has 17 touchdowns. So it's not like he's doing this every week. It was just that one isolated bad game where the picks happened. And then on the Indy defensive line, Kwity Paye's playing very well on the Indy defensive line. I think the key to slowing Josh Allen is pressure with the front 4, and Indy might be able to get more than we think. Spencer Brown, I think the right tackle might be out for Buffalo here. I think the news just came across Twitter as we were recording that there's issue there. So that would make it a little easier. And I think it likely gets to 7.5. I'm more apt to play Indy at 7.5 than I am to tease Buffalo down like Pete is. So if it gets to 7.5 again, I'm probably playing Indy. But right now it's just a lean Indy for me.
Give me the Bills -7, best bet. The Colts are fine. They're not great. The Bills, I mean, I think that we'll get an elite offensive performance from the Bills. They are, again, when you look at how these teams match up, it's sort of similar to the Chargers and the Steelers, right? The Chargers are terrible against the run. Steelers are a great run team. It's just sort of a bad matchup like Ravens and Chargers was a few weeks ago. The Bills can wing the ball all over the place. The Colts secondary is a disaster. The Bills have gotten back to what being the sort of defensive team that they were prior to 2020, which sort of looks like a fluke at this point. They lead the NFL in points per game, yards per play, yards per game, passing yards per play allowed, passing touchdowns, interception, third down conversions, and explosive plays on defense. This is the best defense in football. If that Jaguars loss was just some random blip and a fluke occurrence, and I think it was, then we need to believe in the Bills as substantially better than they're being given credit for. This is going to be a nasty, just fall Buffalo weather. I think the Bills run up the score on the Colts, and if Carson Wentz is forced to drop back and try and come back against Buffalo's secondary, it will get ugly, and the Bills will rout them. Give me the Bills -7 as a best bet. Saints at Eagles. Fighting Jalen Hurts -1.5. By the way, this is incredible. The Saints are 23-6 on the road the last 4 years. That is ridiculous. Like, that's an obscene number in terms of like a win-loss record on the road. If the Saints lose here, it's their first 3-game losing streak since 2016, 2017. Do the Saints lose in Philadelphia as 1.5-point dogs, Pete?
I don't think they do lose, but just to be safe, I put them as the back end of the teaser with the Bills, and I'll take them with 7.5. I just think that's too much. The defense is good. Look, Hurts has played much better in recent weeks. He's getting much more confidence the way he's playing, but I think the Saints are in a desperate situation here. They are playing consecutive road games, which I don't like, but I think Sean Payton's great in this role. He'll get this team fired up. I just didn't want to take him with the 1.5, but I will take them with the 7.5 as the back end of my teaser.
I think you're safe taking the 1.5. I also teased it though. Just get it through 7. I think was great. Look ahead was pick 'em, and so the market is over responding, I think, to last week's outcomes. Philly dominated a shorthand defensive Denver offensive line. 3 guys were missing there. We figured that was going to happen. New Orleans, I think, deserved the win against Tennessee. They got jobbed by some bad referee calls, and they actually outplayed them. I think they outgained them by 100-something yards. So I think the Saints actually were the better team in that game, and they were unlucky not to have a win there. New Orleans defense is first in yards per rush. So Philly won't be able to just focus on running the ball. That's where their identity has come the last few weeks, is just running and having success with it. This is not the team you want to do that against. So are they going to if they try that and it doesn't work, are they going to keep trying it because it has worked, or are they going to be able to throw the ball even if they want to? So we'll see. I don't think the interior, the Philly defensive line can dominate New Orleans' offensive line like they did in recent wins. So I do think New Orleans is going to win this game, but like I said, tease it up to +7.5. It just makes too much sense at this number.
Yeah, I mean, I started to look at a teaser last night, but then I just gave up. The teaser that you guys have with the Bills and Saints teaser, I like a lot. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of teams that I think will win, or at least the Saints will keep it close. To RJ's point, the Eagles have found their rushing attack. They're top 5 in rush attempts, yards per rush, first down runs, and rushing touchdowns. But you know what? Saints have maybe the best rush defense in football. By the way, points per drive, yards per drive, up since Jameis left. Trevor Siemian. Is Trevor Siemian Sean Payton's new franchise quarterback? Did he stumble into that one? Is he going to keep Phillip Rivers on the sidelines because he's just too good? Maybe.
Can he catch a pass? If he can catch a pass, then I'm sure Sean Payton will love him.
No kidding. They need somebody. By the way, Sean Payton, coach of the year bets. Not a bad idea here. If 12, 15, 20 to 1, somewhere in that range.
I mean, it's got to be Kingsbury or Vrabel at this point.
If Vrabel gets the 1 seed, probably. But if Sean Payton, I don't think
look at Vrabel's schedule. He's getting the 1 seed.
More than likely, yes. They also lost to the Jets, so who knows? Just saying.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
I'm just saying Sean Payton's not a crazy bet for that spot. I wouldn't hate it. I like the Saints as a best bet. So are we doing Saints as Saints in the parlay?
Do it.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. Steelers and Saints, 2 dogs. Ooh, spicy. If we get another dog in this can't hit parlay, if we get 3 dogs for the first time all year, I'm money lining it too. Feeling frisky.
I mean, we might have to go back to Packers and be that third if we don't agree on anything else. Because I don't want Pete to accuse us of picking the wrong game. Well, I guess Pete's going to stick around.
Well, I'm going to be here this time.
He's not
I just didn't want that flack from Pete. That's all.
I didn't pick the Raiders. My parlay hit.
You trying to make me leave, RJ? Is that what you trying to do?
No. We know you'll leave at the first. You get. He'll run out the door in a heartbeat. Pete's going out for a pack of cigs. He'll be right back.
No, that's you.
No, not me. Dad went out for a pack. Pete went out for a pack of cigs and he never came back.
Never had one of those in my mouth.
Did you just call Pete Dad?
I was the dad, yes. I thought it would be funny. It didn't really land. 49ers -6 at the Jaguars, over under 45. Look, we don't need to rehash who said what prior to the Rams 49ers game. Just know that the 49ers got back in it in a big way. But I
thought the Rams would whack them. I was wrong. You can rehash it.
Look,
I know you said it to everybody in the world. I mean,
I just was trying to get you worked up on HQ with Brady.
And it didn't work. Instead, I took a shot at you on there. So
I appreciate that. You said,
and I took a shot at you in my picks too. So
you did?
Oh yeah, you and Brady both.
Oh, interesting. Look, the 49ers got right, but it's not like they're just back all of a sudden. And this reeks of a trap game, doesn't it, Pete? You're going to Jacksonville, long road trip, 6-point favorite.
Short week, long road trip. And if you go back and look at all the teams that won big games this year, big games, they put a lot into them. The following week, they flopped. And I'm going to play that again. I'm going to play a flop. Here's the other thing. The 49ers want to run the ball. We know that. The Jaguars have given up 89 yards on the ground the last 3 games. An average of 89 yards. They're not a bad run defense, and I think they're going to limit the run defense, and they're going to put it on Garoppolo, and I think that defense is playing well. Look, Jacksonville's offense isn't very good either right now.
In fairness, they got gashed by the Colts last week.
They didn't. Not after
the
first
80 rushing yards in the first quarter,
and then it was done. Then he did nothing.
Okay,
go look. He did nothing. I'm telling you, he didn't get gashed, and it was one long run. And he didn't get gashed, but they'll limit them in the run game. But the Jaguars' offense is so bad, that's the concern for me because nobody runs. but I'm still going to take the 6 at home. I just think this is a natural spot for a team on going west to east to let down.
Yeah, it is a clear letdown spot for San Francisco after that primetime win over a rival. Jacksonville's D is slowly getting better. I have to think Trevor Lawrence is going to get better at some point too, and that offense is going to improve. But I can't possibly play Jacksonville even if they've covered the last 2, and I don't see any value in San Francisco at this number. So this is a complete stay away from me. I'm not going to be on this. I might lean to the under, just thinking if the Jaguars are able to stifle that San Francisco run, and Garoppolo has a little, isn't able to throw however much he wants. And that Jacksonville offense, I don't know if they're getting anything done. So maybe the under for me, but I'm probably staying away from this game.
Yeah, I think I picked the 49ers in our picks, but I mean, like you said, short week, long road trip across the country. You're playing a bad team, and you know that you're coming back with games against the Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals. I mean, at this point, everything is kind of a must-win game for the 49ers, but this does feel like a letdown spot to a degree. I think that under is probably a good look. I would take the 49ers here if I'm picking the game, just because I don't trust Jacksonville. And Jimmy Garoppolo is actually playing pretty good football the last few weeks, throwing it around. If they come out and they're a throw first team and just use a bunch of motion and let Jimmy G get the ball to Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel in space early on, they'll get a lead and they can just run. I think Elijah Mitchell might play, maybe not. Maybe it's Trace Sermon week. Finally, week 11. Wouldn't that be something? It's probably not.
Jeff Wilson week.
He's been begging for Trace Sermon for a long time.
Yeah, my best ball teams would appreciate it. It's not going to happen. At any rate, I would go 49ers here. What's that?
Yeah, I think if you want to back Pete's play of long road trip coming off a prime time, bad spot for them, play the Jacksonville on the first quarter line or the first half line, especially first quarter. I think they're plus 1.5, because if San Francisco is going to be sleepy, it's going to be early on in that game. So you probably get some good value there playing Jacksonville early in the game.
Yeah, that's a good call. There is a chance San Francisco could just run away with it, and then their ears back against Trevor Lawrence, and that's a problem. You got a best bet on the Jaguars, right, Pete?
I do.
Okay.
I have best bet on the Jaguars.
Ravens minus 4.5 at the Bears. A lot of road chalk this week. A little scary. Over under 45. A couple fun facts for you. The Ravens haven't beaten the Bears since 2009. Cutler versus Flacco. The Ravens have trailed in 5 of their 6 wins this year. The Bears have not scored 25 points yet in a home game so far this season. Lamar and Hollywood, 14 completions of 20-plus yards. Only Stafford and Cooper Kupp are better. And Lamar is on pace for 1,207 rush yards this year, which would set the record that he owned from 2019. He is actually the most blitzed quarterback in the NFL, and is much better when teams don't blitz. The Bears are the second lowest blitzing team in the league. So, Pete, do they change things up, or does Lamar have a field day here?
No, I think they changed things up. I think that blueprint last week by Miami was outstanding. And you can't do the exact same thing, but it was clear that they couldn't handle them with all those looks that they showed them and dropping out and sending different guys and overloading and everything else. So I think that is the book on them. And they never adjusted. I mean, Greg Roman had a terrible day. He had a terrible day calling plays. And so we'll see if he adjusts here. But I still think the Bears are the play here. I don't think that Ravens defense is that good. And so Fields will get him outside with his legs. He'll use and he looked much better against Pittsburgh. So for that reason, combined with the defense, I'm going to take the Bears plus the 4.5 in this one.
The Baltimore defense has been pretty bad. 6.2 yards per play allowed, 29th in net yards per pass attempt. I think the opportunity is there if Chicago plays well. Chicago should have won before the bye. They should have beat Pittsburgh, but they got jobbed by the refs. Second time I've said that now this podcast. But I do wonder if the break throws off the rhythm of Fields. He had been improving as a passer. Now he has to sit for a week. They don't get any practice. They, because of the rules of the new CBA, they don't get to do anything. And that might be affecting teams. We might be overvaluing how teams come out of the bye, because post-bye teams this year are 5-10-1 against the spread. And one of those wins was against another post-bye team. It was Washington last week against Tampa. So that somebody's going to win against the spread, especially when the line's on a half point there. So Chicago D has faced a lot of stationary quarterbacks this year. If they do change things up and counter Lamar, that might be effective. But I think it's a shock having to play a guy like that. I think the Baltimore defense could tear up a bad Chicago O-line. And I don't know if Fields will be able to handle pressure. So my lean probably is to Baltimore. The line's coming down. It seems like the Sharps are backing the Bears. So I probably need a little bit more value to play Baltimore. But if this line before Sunday gets down to 3.5 or so, I'm going to be looking at Baltimore.
Yeah, same on the Ravens. I think we I think our picks against spread for the site is Ravens -6, and it's already come down a 1.5. Justin Fields has been much better lately. I don't know that he's necessarily, taking huge strides as a passer so much as they had, like Matt Nagy's accidentally taking the reins off and letting him run around. It would be lovely if they would actually utilize, Fields' abilities in their offense, and they just won't do it. And it's been multiple weeks, and it's very frustrating. The Bears have the 9th lowest red zone efficiency on offense. The Ravens have the 4th highest red zone efficiency on defense and the 3rd highest red zone efficiency on offense. I think that may be the flipper here. And again, the Bears don't want to blitz. I don't think they magically just start firing guys at Lamar Jackson, and Lamar's been carving up teams that don't send pressure on him. So give me the Ravens to cover here, but not as a best bet. The Giants. The Buccaneers haven't played at home since October 24th. It's a long time. This will be their first home game. It's Monday night. It's prime time. Tom Brady after his bedtime, but he's an 11-point favorite. What's that?
They did have a bye. I mean,
what? You don't.
I know, but you play a couple road games and you have a bye. That's October 24th.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty long time for no home game. I mean, Bucs fans are probably thirsty for some Tom Brady in their lives. I'm not saying
they weren't thirsty for what they
were. It's been a while,
especially coming off a couple losses.
They weren't thirsty for what they saw last week.
No, they're not. No. Maybe Tom Brady's been too busy doing a 10-part documentary series for ESPN Plus. The Man in the Arena.
He got jumpy. He got jumpy last week. It was early in the game. He started. You can always tell when Tom Brady's going to go bad when he starts getting jumpy and pouting and going to the sidelines with the baby faces and everything else. You knew it was I'm telling you, go back and watch the game, and he's got the jumpy, pouty face going, and he gets it's just like you've seen it over the years.
It's like with Rodgers, when Rodgers just like F it and just starts like chunking stuff deep and is like, you know what? If these don't hit, I'm out. I'm done for the day.
Right. You could see it. You could see it. And last week he got a little pouty, and they didn't play very well. I think they'll win the game here, but this number is way too bloated for my liking. I haven't seen enough from the Bucs, particularly on defense. I mean, they're not good on defense right now. And so I think that the Giants coming off their bye will hang around in this game and keep it within this number. Maybe the Bucs win by a touchdown, but you're going to give me 11. I'm going to make the Giants the best bet.
I think the Giants have too many issues to fix during the bye. And like I said, the bye teams haven't been playing well coming off the bye. If teams are largely coming back from the bye rusty and not playing well, do you really trust the Giants coaching staff to avoid that and be on top of their games? I don't know that that's the coaching staff. I think will do that. I think it's a nice bounce back spot for Tampa after back-to-back losses. And the Giants' D struggles when not facing Darnold. They've been carved up by a lot of quarterbacks that aren't Sam Darnold. And Tom Brady's about as not Sam Darnold as you can get. So I think that if I'm going to play this, it's the Buccaneers. I think it might come down a little bit. So, hopefully you can get a 10.5, 10, because I think it might've been 11.5 and it started to creep down because people are valuing the Giants off bye. And people want to play against Tom Brady because it's past his bedtime or whatever in these late games. They just come off of 2 straight losses. Neither of those were in prime time. So it's not like it's indicative of, well, if he's playing in prime time, he's probably going to lose. And if he's not, he's probably going to win because we saw last 2 weeks, it hasn't mattered. So I think they come out of those 2 losses mad and looking to get back on track. And this could be like that Giants-Rams game where things just fell apart for the Giants after they went bad in the first half, and Rams could name their score after that.
Yeah, that's kind of my fear. I mean, I looked at this game and immediately it was like 11. Are you serious? Like, shouldn't this be 9.5? Like, draw some money in on the Bucs. I think that they want all the money on the Giants in a primetime spot. And it is like, again, the last time they played at home, the Bucs did 38-3 against the Bears. I mean, they mauled them. And Tom Brady coming off back-to-back losses is not going to be a happy camper. If he can, like RJ said, he can name his score against the Giants secondary if he chooses. Because it's a primetime game, I'm gonna take the Giants plus 11, but not as a best bet. I had kind of a hard time doing it. I think it's pretty important to see the injury report too, because if it's just Mike Evans and like Cameron Brate, then I don't feel quite as confident about Tom Brady opening it up and letting that offense loose. Now, if Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown are back, Rob Gronkowski, that's a different story. So, want to see the injury report. Lean towards the Giants. Don't feel good about it. Petrified of Tom Brady. A pissed off Tom Brady. Let's take a break. And when we come back, Pete and I will go, or RJ and I will go head to head on a best bet for the highest profile game of the week. next. Cowboys at Chiefs. Is this game on Fox? It's on Fox, isn't it? This is on CBS.
I don't. I think it's Fox.
It's Fox. It's Fox.
Yeah, it's Fox. Okay. Oh yeah. But that'll be the Buck and Aikman game. They're calling so they do Patriots Falcons and then Cowboys Chiefs. This is a whopper of a game. The total's 56. Chiefs are -2.5. Very curious to know, RJ, what was the look ahead line for this prior to the Chiefs taking care of biz against the Raiders?
This was same line, 2.5.
Okay. I guess the Cowboys kind of laid
The
it.
Cowboys were so good the week before.
Cowboys essentially got skunked by the Broncos. I mean, look, if this game doesn't have 60 plus points in it, I think it'll be wildly disappointing. And the pathway for that is probably, Pete, for the Cowboys to run the heck out of the ball. Oh, it looks like Pete. Wait, actually, maybe Pete and I are head to head. Who's got the teaser?
No.
And who's got the Cowboys?
RJ's got the.
I got both.
RJ's got the. He's got both.
Oh, I thought it was a typo. Oh, all right. Well, Pete, I'll let you go first. What do you like in this game?
Let RJ go first. He's got the best bets on.
All right, RJ. I got the Chiefs. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I can see that Brinson's got the Chiefs. They fixed everything. It was 1 week. They got to play the Raiders, and the offense is now completely fixed. For the last 2 months didn't happen. We can just rule out the whole first half of the season. Patrick Mahomes is going to win MVP. Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Brinson's back on board. Are Chiefs a better team? I mean, the market's decided that after 1 week of looking normal that they are. I have more belief in Dallas after how they looked the entire season. They came out of the gate strong, could have beat the Buccaneers in week 1 on the road. And they've been played well ever since, except for that one Denver game. They got caught off guard. Mahomes struggled with turnovers in the first half of the year. Dallas defense has been turnover machines. The Chiefs defense looks like it's getting better, but is it good enough to limit this lead offense? I don't think it is. I think Dallas wins this game. I think they're the better team. I don't think home field is worth 2.5. So I think there's value taking Dallas plus 2.5, but this is a clear teaser line also. So I teased it up to Dallas plus 8.5, paired it with the Saints. But I would play Dallas money line too. Hopefully we can get 3, but I would play Dallas money line too.
Yeah, I'm on the other side. I'll take the Chiefs. I don't love the Chiefs in this spot, but I also think Dallas a couple weeks ago was just dreadful. I mean, they were awful. And so I worry about that a little bit. It's a tough place to play. I think the Chiefs found something finally on offense by being patient. That was something they had to do. They started working the run game. Then they worked the middle of the field. Then they worked the shots down the field. And I think that worked for them last week. I think the Cowboys defense is a little overrated. I'll take the Chiefs minus the points. And I do like the over. And I know that looks so Petey public, like you say, Brinson, but I can't.
You're the best bet already, man.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna take the over and the Chiefs in the game, but I'm not making either one a best bet.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, if you bet the under on this game, you're not a fun person. I mean, you might win money and it might come under, but like you're rooting against the Cowboys and Chiefs scoring 30 points apiece or somebody dropping 40 on, I mean, like, come on. I mean, RJ, you wouldn't take the under here, right?
You put it at 56.5. You put it 56.5. I'll think about it. Because I mean that Chiefs offense, it's been 1 week. So I mean they're scoring 14 against Green Bay and 3 against Tennessee or whatever. I mean that's a team that's really going to come in here and just start them at 30 and then we'll go up from there. I just don't know.
I saw Debo scroll over to I can't stand how Caesars does the team totals, but scroll over to the away. So it says away. That's where like the team total is. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. I mean. 26 I love. Move that little slider up to 27 and see what the juice is, because I think 20, if you can get, maybe you can't do 20. Oh no, that's alternate away. Scroll down a little bit, see what Dallas is. 27.5. I'm fine with 27.5 for Dallas. I think they get 4 touchdowns. It's plus money. Or actually, I guess you just bet over 3.5 touchdowns at plus 145. Are they really not scoring 4 touchdowns in this game? Maybe not. Maybe
they should. I mean, we'll see. Chiefs defense has been better, so we'll see if this is, I think, their first huge test. Jordan Love isn't a test, so we'll see if they can keep it going here.
Pete, do you think it matters at all or is beneficial at all that? And I asked this knowing that Dan Quinn has not been running necessarily his traditional system, the cover 3 stuff all season long with Dallas. But going from Gus Bradley, like everybody's figured out the Chiefs and then they immediately get Gus Bradley and then Dan Quinn. Do you think it's beneficial for Patrick Mahomes getting two guys who come from the same system?
Yeah, but they're not playing the same anymore.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I was talking to a couple people in the league last week, and they said the biggest difference on defense now is that everybody's changing up, and you have to. You have to change up. If you just sit, Seattle did it for so long because they had the great players. If you don't have the great players, they were able to rush with 4. If you can't rush with 4 consistently in the NFL, you can't play cover 3. You can't just play off coverage.
You get picked apart.
Yeah, so I know. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of advantage, but he's faced Gus Bradley his whole career, right? For most of it, a couple of years, 3 years, he faced him in.
I guess so. Yeah, in Los Angeles. No, I mean, and look, like Gus didn't have a great plan, and Adams got smoked on Sunday. I one of the things about the Chiefs defense too, by the way, I thought this was a good note from our research team, sliding Chris Jones inside. Basically, since they got Melvin Ingram and they can rush him on the edge, Chris Jones has lined up on the interior of 62 of 74 snaps featuring Melvin Ingram since week 9. That's 83.8%. And since week 9, Jones has 3 quarterback hits and 7 pressures. The only 2 players in football, interior linemen that is, that have more pressures are Jeffrey Simmons and DeForest Buckner. So Chris Jones getting back. By the way,
that had nothing to do with Melvin Ingram. That was happening anyways. He was a disaster as a defense.
Yeah, he just needs to be inside. He's much better inside.
Bad coaching decision, bad thought to move him out there. He's an inside player.
Steve Spags was about to get fired and was like, all right, let's move player who's good at this position back to said position.
And make yourself but you're making yourself weak at two of the 2 positions. He's not dominant inside, average at outside.
The other thing sorry, go ahead.
Next up, they're going to put Tyrann Mathieu at defensive end. That's their next. Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Have we talked about this, Pete? This is how John Breach says Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Mathieu.
What is wrong with that?
What is wrong with him?
I know.
Tyrann Mathieu.
I mean, who says it like that? The one injury to watch if you like the Cowboys in this spot, and I do agree that the Cowboys as a teaser is a really good way to go because it should be like if the Cowboys are down 10 and they got the ball, they're going to find
the Cowboys in a teaser is fine. I think
for sure.
I just worry what if they lose by 3 or 4.
Tyron Smith. Just watch Tyron Smith on the injury report. He matters in a game like this. So make sure
it does matter.
If he's playing, that's obviously much, much better if you are a Cowboys backer. The WFTs. Oh, Pete. Are you ready for some revenge game talk? Because we got revenge at the wazoo in Charlotte this weekend. Cam Newton's back. Panthers fans are going nuts. And he's facing in his first start back with the Panthers since 2019. His old coach, Ron Rivera. I don't even know who's getting revenge here.
Is it a revenge for Ron Rivera too?
Yes, of course it is. They fired him.
It's offset then. It doesn't matter.
No. It's cascading into a tornado of revenge.
Revenge.
Everyone's going to try so much harder.
Look, the Washington football team to me, without and granted, Chase Young wasn't very good. I mean, he only had 1.5 sacks. Not like he was lighting things up. But you don't have 2 pass rushers. It's not like Carolina's the drop back and throw it around team either. But you take those 2 guys out of the lineup. Now you're down to. I mean, these guys are. The guys that are playing now are picked up off the scrap heap. And so, no, one's a late round pick and one's Hill, and he's an average guy. You're going to be able to move the ball on them. And I think Cam will play okay in this game. All he has to do is manage the game because their defense has been so good lately. And I think their defense is getting better. So I'll take Carolina minus the points. I don't love it as the best bet, but I'll take Carolina.
Look ahead was Carolina -2. Market clearly believes that Cam changes the trajectory for this team. I don't know how good he's going to be after a week plus of practice if he's taking all the snaps and we assume he's starting in this game. Carolina is getting more respect for beating Colt McCoy than Washington is for beating Tom Brady since the market's moving it so much for Carolina. I think everybody's just discounting that Washington win as who cares? It's Brady had a bad game. I am worried about the state of Washington's pass rush, but they still have the guys on the interior. They can clog up the middle of the field, the middle of the line. And, I don't think that Panthers, Cam, that's what he wants to do is rush in there. And if it comes to big stops, on 4th down where he's sneaking the ball, you want to have those guys in the middle instead of the end anyway. I think 2 was closer to the right number than 3.5. Once they get over the field goal, I knew I was going to take Washington. So I got a best bet on Washington plus 3.5. This just seems like a clear field goal game to me. And the market overreacted to this one.
I'm taking the Panthers in this spot. And if I take the Panthers as the best bet, I think I did take the Panthers as the best bet. Did I send that to you? No. I thought about it. but I didn't do it. You know why, Pete? Too much revenge on Ron Rivera's mind. If it were another coach, if it was like Jack
So
Del
Ron
Rio,
Rivera's revenge is greater than Cam Newton's revenge against Ron Rivera. Is that what you're saying?
well, Cam Newton's also getting revenge against his own team. So he's got to get revenge on them for cutting him. So he's going to try harder to remind them that they cut him, and he's getting revenge against Ron Rivera, which outweighs, as you know, two against one outweighs the single revenge.
Well, Jack Del Rio once was left. He was the defensive coordinator in Carolina.
Point. And
he
Curtis
left his
Samuel
Sunday
not
coach.
re-signed by the Panthers. A lot of
Wow.
revenge.
You're looking
What
for
if Washington signs Alex Smith on Friday and then he gets a little rushing touchdown and rips his helmet off and screams, "I'm back"? What's the narrative there?
Well, he was counting that 15-yard penalty. He was in the plus for 7 yards because he had 22 total yards.
I don't think that Cam Newton. I don't think Cam Newton is going to drastically and magically alter this offense. Actually, you know what I do? Actually, screw that.
You know, the best thing about Cam Newton, he's not Sam Darnold.
Yes, basically, he's not Sam Darnold. And you can mitigate the lack of offensive line by using Cam in the run game. And Cam's back. Cam is back to take some punishment. He's back to win some football games. And he's not going to be scared of running the football, of doing crazy stuff. And I'm telling you, man, I'm going to have the TV up. Like, I'm not a Panthers fan anymore. Like, I mean, I'm happy when the Panthers are good. It's fun. But I'm not like a Panthers fan, but I might be a Panthers fan on Sunday. I mean,
aside from Moton, though, that offensive line is bad.
Oh, it's terrible. But when Cam comes out of that tunnel on Sunday, like that place is going to be packed and loud, and I'm excited
Maybe
for
you
it.
should get in the car and go over there and cover it for us.
That's so fun. Well, no, I would, but I got to go back down
RJ,
there on
you like
Wednesday.
that, huh?
I got to go back down there on Wednesday, so I'm not driving all the way down there on Sunday.
RJ, what do you think,
going back on
RJ?
Wednesday.
What do you think, RJ? You like that?
Yeah, I
huh?
don't think there's less chance of that happening than Alex Smith getting re-signed.
Do you know how much it's not even, it was the mileage alone. If I have to submit mileage, I'm not taking a train down there because I mean,
when I drove to Tampa for the mini camps and stuff, in training camp, I submitted my mileage.
yeah. And when you submit your mileage, like, hey, I covered the Panthers Washington game. I almost said the R word. I covered
And coming back. Yeah, come on. I'm
Yeah,
trying
what do
to
you
talk
want?
him into
You
this.
want a column from me from Bank of America Stadium? A little date night.
Don't worry, Pete. We have a real journalist in Jonathan Jones to cover these.
He
type of
lives
things,
in New York. He's not in Charlotte.
He's not in Charlotte either.
Sold his place in Charlotte. JJ abandoned us and went to he's a northerner now. Anyway, I like the Panthers in this spot. I think that place is going to be rocking, and Washington's not good. And the secondary is bad. Panthers defense going to have a field day. 2 defensive touchdowns for the Panthers in this game. That's my prediction. Bold prediction.
Can't wait to see your one-on-one with Cam after the game.
I mean, if they want me to go down and cover it, I'll go cover it. I'm not harassing some editor to drive down to Charlotte. It's the worst drive on the planet.
I know. I'm just saying. We can't wait to see your one-on-one with Cam after the game. HQ camera, get him up.
I can. Give me a stool. Texans at the oh no. Texans at the Titans. Titans -10, over under 44.5. The Titans are your number 1 seed in the AFC, having beaten the Bills, Chiefs, Colts, Rams, and Saints in a row. Their last loss was to the Jets. Tennessee's kept the winning streak going without Derrick Henry. We have a pretty big game in 2 weeks against the Patriots. Pete, will Mike Vrabel's crew get up for this division matchup? This look-ahead spot against a basement-dwelling Texans team.
I hate this game because after you go through a gauntlet like that, there's going to be a natural letdown. There has to be. However, that Texans team is brutal. They're brutally bad. And so for that reason, I'll take the Titans, but I don't love this game in any way, shape, or form. I'll lay the 10, but in large part only because I'm not taking the Texans as much as anything, because I do think the gauntlet can wear on you, and it'll be a real challenge for Mike Vrabel to get them up again this week.
I will take the Texans. Best bet. I've been on the Texans too much, but I'm doing it again. Tyrod looked just as bad as Davis Mills last week. I know, but it's his first start back from a major injury. Those are tough. Ask Russell Wilson. He looked terrible also. We know Tyrod is much better than Davis Mills from earlier in the year, including that one half against the Browns. And just his whole career. So Tennessee's winning, but their offense doesn't look good. They're getting fortunate with turnovers and bad calls. They don't have the run game, which is how they've had success in the past. Julio's on the IR, so they got one guy to defend in the passing game. And they have a look-ahead spot, like you said, a trip to New England and then the bye. This feels like a clear letdown spot versus a team they know they should beat. Texans going to come out, going to be competitive in this game. Titans won't be ready for it. Their offense, I just don't see them covering a huge number against anybody because with how they've looked the last few weeks. So love the Texans here. Get it at 10.5. It's 10.5 at Caesars right now, but I have it as a best bet at +10 also.
RJ, if the Texans don't cover, are you giving up on them? Is this the last time you're going to take them?
There's always a number in a spot. This is less about loving the Texans than it is Titans shouldn't be favored by 10 with that offense against really anyone. So, I mean, if you give me Texans +17 against a team that also doesn't have a good offense, then I'm going to be like, yeah, we think that team's good, but there's always a number to take with these bad teams.
Hey, you know what, Pete? Cam Newton's playing this week. We got feels like it's 2017 all over again. RJ's just betting on the 2017 Browns every week, just refusing to give up on the Browns.
I actually understand his rationale behind this because I nearly lean that way in large part because I think I go back to when you play that many games in a row against good teams, it's only natural to have a letdown against a crappy team.
Well, you know what? I got the Texans as a best bet too. The Titans offense has actually dropped.
Take them off.
No way. I'm hot. I'm feeling it. Seeing the board. Yards per play for the Titans, despite this like winning streak, since Derrick Henry left, has dropped from 5.4 to 4.0. They also have seen their yards per game drop from 377 to 229. I mean, that's a massive dip. Third down conversion rate, 43% to 29%. Goal to go efficiency, 93% to 83%. The biggest concern for me here is AJ Brown's stat line. I mean, he has absolutely truck sticked the Texans every single time out. 27 catches, 447 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 4 games. If you're looking at DFS, Tannehill, AJ Brown, and Brandon Cook stacks make a lot of sense. You could also maybe even sneak Tyrod. And,
by the way, those 2 Henry-less games came against the Rams defense and the Saints defense.
I mean,
seriously.
Some weird stuff, right? Some weird stuff happened. I'm just look, the Texans are bad. The Patriots sort of loom as one of the big challenges for the Titans trying to get that number 1 seed. And that's 2 weeks from now. It's Vrabel against Belichick. You can't tell me he's not, it's at least on his mind. I know NFL teams don't look ahead. He sees that game on the schedule. I mean, that's his old boss. I mean, he's playing Belichick. It's an AFC rival.
If he takes care of the stiff teams on his schedule, he's going to have the number 1 seed anyways.
Yes. This is just a prime look ahead spot. If you're giving me 10.5, I'm taking the Texans. The back door will be wide open. Can't wait for them not to come through. Dolphins -3 at the Jets for under 44.5. What I guess this game is probably on CBS, so I'm technically and contractually required to say what an amazing matchup between 2 AFC East teams. Pete, can't wait to see what the Dolphins and Tua do against the Jets and checks notes Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I don't understand going to Joe Flacco, and the whole explanation for it was, well, he's been around the league. He'll see a lot. He'll understand a lot more of the blitzes that the Dolphins will throw at him. What does it matter? He's not going to play next year. You'd like to find out more about Mike White to see if he could be your long-term backup. I don't like that decision at all. I think Miami defensively, they're playing very well. And so for that reason, I'll take Miami. I'm not taking I might never take the Jets the rest of the season. So I'll take Miami minus the points.
Well, I'll tell you why it matters, Pete. If the Jets lose this game, they can kiss the playoffs goodbye. You got to get this win.
This is a must-win game for the Jets. I think we can all agree.
Must-win game. Just cannot afford a loss here. No, Miami had a mini bye to get healthy after the Thursday night game, and it's better than a regular bye, I think, at this point, because you don't have that break where you're not practicing and getting away and come back rusty. They just got a few days off to get healthy. That's big for Tua because we know he came into that game not healthy. They didn't start him in that game. Miami's defense was atrocious earlier in the year. That secondary got healthy, and they've had a strong stretch since then. The Jets defense is, and always will be atrocious the way they're playing. I don't know what Robert Saleh is doing with that unit, But 45 plus points allowed in 3 of the last 4. They are just getting steamrolled by every team. Mike White season turned out to be a mirage. So now it's Joe Flacco season because apparently he's seen a blitz and you Mike White hasn't. So you can't get him that exposure apparently, like Pete said. I was aggressive moving Miami up in my power ratings because every time I wanted to stop and say, okay, I took them from 6 points worse than an average team to 4. And then I'm like, well, 4 is the level of like a Chicago. And I'm like, I think on a neutral field, I'm taking Miami. So I had to move them up to 3, and 3 was a level of another team that I'm like, I'm taking Miami. So I landed at 2, which is where I have Denver right now. I think Denver's on their way down. Felt about right. And there's value on Miami line to me at -3 because the Jets are awful. So I have Miami as a best bet at -3. Get it before it gets to 3.5.
I don't have a best bet on it, but I spent way too much time last night trying to talk myself into taking the Jets as a home dog of +3. Makes no sense. The Jets are terrible. Joe Flacco is starting for the Jets. Like Robert, like is it because Joe Flacco never lost to Rex Ryan? Is that why Robert Saleh is trotting this out? By the way, did you see that feud? What did Rex is? Go away, Rex. I mean, I know he works for ESPN I know he's not going away, but like he's been squatting on this imaginary strawman beef with Robert Saleh for like 9 months, and now he's just
understand that one.
he's like, don't compare that guy to me. This guy's team sucks. You compare him to me? What are you doing? It's like, Rex, like you're not getting the job again, man. Give up the ghost, pal. You just go do your tanning beds and Get Up with Greeny. I took the Dolphins as a pick, but I can't make anything in this game a best bet. But I think it's a good pick, RJ. It's just a terrible game. I'm going to fade Joe Flacco for all of eternity at his age against a decent defense and a Miami team that, even if they're not going to make the playoffs, which they're probably not, but they can kind of secretly claw back in, they have a little motivation not to give up a top 5 pick. Lions at the Browns. Fun fact. Actually, you know what? I'll let you guess. If you've seen the research notes, don't do it. Don't guess.
Well, I've seen the research notes.
Do you know what the Lions' all-time winning percentage against the Browns is?
I saw the research notes.
But do you know what it is?
79%.
79%. That's okay. I don't know if maybe you didn't look. Maybe you saw a packet and you just threw it aside. That is insane. The Lions have won 79% of their games against the Browns. The Lions have, that's obviously the highest percentage ever for this miserable franchise. I mean, imagine losing 80% of your matchups to the Detroit Lions. That's pathetic. The Browns haven't beaten them since 2001. The Browns are now double-digit favorites, Pete.
And how many times have they played since then?
I don't know. They won 79.2%. Do the
Do
Browns get it done? Do the Browns finally extract the revenge against the Lions?
I hate laying. Yeah, I hate laying this big number. I really do. But I'm going to, because I think the Browns will get back on track. The Lions last week, they competed. Kudos to them. They played well, but that was Mason Rudolph. You know, whoever plays quarterback for the Browns, whether it's banged up Baker Mayfield or Keenum, they're better than what Mason Rudolph is. So I'm going to take the Browns. I don't love the game, but I will lay the 11.5. I'm not taking the Lions.
Are they 11.5 points better than what Mason Rudolph is? Because that's what you need to cover after you tie, a bad, terrible Lions team. Jared Goff dealing with an oblique injury. I was loving the chance to come on here and talk about David Blau, and then they put Tim Boyle getting the reps at number 1. So I was like, why you got to do this to us, Lions? You got to take away the one thing we liked about your team to talk about. So is there going to be a drop?
I'm out on Dan Campbell. He said no Blau. He said he's going to Tim Boyle. I'm out on Dan Campbell.
Terrible. So, I mean, is there really going to be a big drop off from Goff to one of those guys that moves the line? The way Goff's playing, I don't know that you should really move the line. Number is so high, I don't see value laying it with the Browns. So it'd really be Lions or nothing to me. So I would kind of lean to the under, expect no real points to be scored the way that Cleveland offense looked. But if Goff is out, there's no guarantee he's back for Thanksgiving either. Lions are only +3 against Chicago. That's a much better line to take advantage of. I'll lay the 3 with Chicago there. So consider that look ahead play if you can put your look ahead bets in at Chicago -3, just kind of fading the Goff injury and not wanting to rush him back if he misses this game.
I actually have the Browns as a best bet, and I thought I put all my notes on this game into the rundown. I guess it's in my picks column, but I will just point out, I believe, as I scramble to find out what the Cleveland weather is going to be, that I think it's going to be really bad weather on Sunday in Cleveland. Yep, it's going to be rainy and 46. Oh, I think I may have even written that Jared Goff can't play in bad weather. You know what? Tim Boyle can't play in bad weather either. I need to go edit that. Goff, I would prefer in bad weather against Myles Garrett. Either way, it's going to be a ton of wind, a ton of rain, cold as hell. The Lions are 0-8-1, and they're going up against a team with a really good offensive line, and Nick Chubb is coming back, and Nick Chubb is going to go nuke in this game. The Browns are going to run the ball a ton. The Lions are going to get down. They're going to be forced to try and throw the ball a bunch, and it's just going to be a disaster in this kind of weather, again, with Myles Garrett coming after, whether it's Goff, Tim Boyle, or David Blau, who doesn't matter. Somebody's getting hurt by Myles Garrett in this game, and that defense maybe takes it to the house. I like the Browns as a best bet here just because of the way the two teams set up with Cleveland's aggressive run offense and that pass rush. This is a bad spot for old Tim Boyle. Tough position that Dan Campbell's putting him in. Throw David Blau out there. Bengals -1 at the Raiders, over under 49.5. The Las Vegas Raiders, after John Gruden resigned, they won 2 straight games. They've sort of airs come out of the balloon a little bit, Pete. Last 2 games, rough performances by the Raiders, averaging just 15 points per game. Now they're in, is this a must-win game at home against a fellow AFC wildcard contender?
Well, the Bengals didn't exactly play their last 2 before the bye either. They were bad too. So it's a matchup of 2 teams that are not playing well. I know the Bengals probably a little bit more rested, but I'm going to take the Raiders in this spot. This is a tough game for me. I had a hard time with it, but I'll take the Raiders plus the 1, plus the small spot here.
Rested or rusty, because if these bye teams come out and they don't play well, the Bengals could be succumb to that too. It was an awful week for Vegas. There's probably value playing them if the market boosts the line, just playing overrating that bad week versus what the Bengals did before their bye. I think it could come down to turnovers. Carr has a much lower interception rate than Burrow, so I would like to have the Carr side of that. If this game comes down to turnovers, especially with him at home, not having to deal with the crowd noise there, I don't think Cincinnati's going to mobilize to take over Vegas for this game. So my lean would be to Vegas at +1, hoping to get a little bit better number.
I got the Bengals here. I think I'm on a lot of chalk this week. What could go wrong? The Henry Ruggs thing, and by the way, he didn't show up for a sobriety test, which is, come on, man. I know things are bad, but you gotta show up and do what you're supposed to do. And I realize that there's a lot of concerns with that in general, but from a pure football perspective, his absence is being felt the last 2 weeks. This team is not.
DeSean Jackson runs into the end zone. It's not being felt.
Yeah, yes, that's true. But that's sort of the thing, right? Like DeSean Jackson is old and ran the opposite way and fumbled the ball. that's part of the problem.
But in terms of deep speed, he got open and had a big play, and he just messed it up.
Derek Carr's yards per attempt has cratered by 2.6 yards per attempt over the last 2 games, and they haven't played. They played the Chiefs and the Giants.
He's another one. He's another one who curls up at times too.
Yeah, you think when he's running hot, people love to get up.
Everybody's wrong about Derek Carr, and then when it's time to play,
finally proving everybody wrong in this great season.
Right.
Yeah. I got the Bengals. The Raiders defense. I think the Raiders. I think those 2 games after Gruden resigned with the Ruggs thing going on, they got as much going as they possibly could, pulled off 2 really impressive wins. And it's just asking too much. And at a certain point, that's too much attrition for your team to deal with when you lose your number 1 receiver and your head coach in back-to-back weeks under completely impossible to comprehend circumstances, like unprecedented circumstances. And so I don't necessarily trust the Bengals, but I do like Zach Taylor's craps habit. So I will go Cincinnati here. Not as a best bet, but I like the Bengals. Cardinals, final game. Just whipping through these, Pete. Feels like time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
It really does.
Cardinals -2.5 at the Seahawks. Over under 48. Kyler Murray is trending towards playing. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. Very early for the West Coast, so we won't know exactly what Kyler's status is for Thursday or Friday. Obviously, that will impact the line. Also, a lot of questions are being asked about Russell Wilson and how quickly he can come back from this hand surgery that clearly impacted his performance last week, Pete.
Yeah, he did not look good, and passes were sailing and being thrown all over the place. I joke with Brady Quinn. Brady Quinn said, "Well, it's his finger injury. You can't throw the ball the way you'd like to." Well, and I told Brady, I go, was his finger in front of his eyes? Because he threw in about double coverage for interceptions twice. So I just didn't think he played well. He looked uncomfortable. I'm going to take the Cardinals. The Cardinals get Murray back. They were, as soon as they fell behind last week, they quit. They quit last week, and they knew their quarterback wasn't there, and they quit. They'll rally around this game. I'll take. I don't love this game, but I'll take Arizona in the points.
Yeah, Russ looked awful after rushing back. I think he'll improve moving forward. Obviously, he's too good a quarterback just to expect him to play awful each week. So yeah, who is starting a quarterback?
I'm sorry, RJ. I meant to say Arizona minus the points. My bad.
You're fine.
Arizona minus points.
You'll
Kyler, he practiced
plus the points if Kyler doesn't play. So.
Probably, yeah. Kyler did practice on Thursday, though. The reporters on Twitter said he was out there on the practice field. So it looks like he is going to play. He might be doing it at less than 100% too. So he might have a Russell Wilson game if he's rushing back here. We know he really struggled with injury last year when he played coming back from injury. Absolutely a must-win game for Seattle. They got to do everything they can to win this game. Can't afford to lose it. Arizona, I think, is more worried about getting healthy. Obviously, they do want to win the game. Rival on the road in Seattle, tough environment. I would lean to Seattle plus 2.5, but we got to know more about the health status of some of these guys before we're going to play this one.
Yep, agreed. I mean, you can't make a bet on this game until you know about Kyler Murray, unless now, if you for some reason you think Kyler's not going to play, and the Cardinals have been pretty obnoxious about the whole Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins stuff over the last 2 weeks. Like they've run it up until game time. And I think that's probably Kingsbury trying to do some sort of injury report gamesmanship, which is, it's fine, but whatever. Like, cool. If you want to run it up till Sunday, do that. They have a bye after this week. Kyler's dealing with shoulder, hand, and like a lower body injury, I think. Like, isn't he? I mean, he's got like multiple injuries. You're sort of leaking water if you're Arizona, but why would you not sit Kyler for this game? Try to steal one against a banged up, questionable Seahawks team, and then get to your bye, and you've got Kyler with a full 4-week rest.
You're in a division race. You're in a division race now.
I know, but I mean, if Kyler gets hurt, then if Kyler gets seriously injured, it's all over.
I don't think they'll clear him until he's capable of playing. So I play him.
Okay. Look, Russ banged up with the hand thing is a problem. Kyler banged up is a problem too. I mean, we saw it last year. He's not accurate. He doesn't run very well. And so I'll take this. I'll take the Seahawks catching the points here. I'd like the Seahawks on the money line as well. I think Seattle wins the game outright. Okay. So are we going to add Packers -3 to our can't hit, can't stop, can't hit, won't hit
minus
parlay?
2.
Packers
minus
2,
2.
excuse me.
Yeah. Or Dolphins, but I think you guys like Packers more.
I like the Dolphins.
I like the Dolphins. I might like Dolphins more.
All right,
I think those are really the only two consensus ones for us. So it's one of those two.
No, we're trying to get even. We're trying to get even this week. We're going with a 4-teamer.
Should we go 4-teamer? Let's go 4-teamer.
Oh, it's definitely going to win then.
Yep. All right. Add the Packers too, Debo. We're going 4-team parlay. That's right. 10 weeks in, the can't hit, won't hit parlay is over 10. So we're going 4 teams. Turn it up to 4. Steelers plus 5.5, Saints plus 1.5, Dolphins -3, and Packers -2. I am also curious very quickly to see if you don't mind. So we got the Saints, right? Saints money line, Dolphins money line. Who else do I need to add? The Packers money line only -125. That's not too bad.
Steelers
and the Steelers Sunday night money line plus 230. That is pays out 18-1 on the money line. For those 4 teams, I will be betting that this weekend. I may bet that right now. It's cashing 4-0 in that parlay. Here are the best bets. Recap: Pete Prisco's best bets. Jaguars. Oh, look at all the pretty dogs on here.
I'm barking, aren't I?
There's some ugly dogs on here. Jaguars +6, Steelers +5.5, Giants +11, Bears +4.5. I mean, those are some just truly great NFL football teams you got back in there. I like it. Packers -2, and Pete also has a Bills and Saints teaser, which I love. RJ's best bets: Dallas +2.5, Pittsburgh +5.5, Washington +3.5, Miami -3, Houston +10. Some beautiful dogs there as well. New Orleans +7.5, and Dallas +8.5 in a teaser, which I also like. The Saints, Bills, and look at all this chalk I got going. Texans +10.5, Yes, my best bet, sin at 1:04 p.m., but they were on my notepad 12 hours earlier.
Brent's taking a little half point extra on Texans, I see, from the line that got sent out.
Oh,
for
then give me
Devo.
10. Sorry. I was just going by Caesars, man. Texans plus 10. I looked at the odds page. Texans plus 10, Saints plus 2, Bills minus 7, Browns
You gave-
minus 11 and a
Isn't
half,
Packers minus 2.
Packers minus 2, not minus 2.5. See,
Mhm.
goes
Make
both
his
ways.
3 for being late.
Chiefs minus 2.5, and the Steelers plus 5.5, not 6. And now in show.
Saints 1.5, right?
Yeah, 1.5.
Saints 1.5. Yeah.
Saints winning outright. Doesn't matter. They're playing.
Now I
like
see
trash.
why his record's so good last 2 weeks. He's shaving half points off
Yeah,
here and there.
well, he goes. You know what he does, and you know what he does. He goes back in after the fact. We never
Oh,
see.
yeah.
We don't ever have a document with his picks on it.
This, you're literally looking at a document with my picks.
Right now, we do. Usually, we don't
None of the games have been played. How does that benefit me in any way? It's not like I'm doing it on Monday.
because Debo. Usually, I look at the document. I can go back to the one from last week. Yours weren't on it.
Yeah, I send it around 12:30. I can't.
Yeah, I usually have mine and then I don't send them. And then I'll be like,
But
oh,
like,
crap.
you don't go back and put them in there, Debo.
Not on the email. No, they're on the actual
No.
document though. Look, do you think that, look, first of all, I'm like 13 games below 500. So I'm not cheating.
I'm not saying you're cheating. I'm just saying we'd like to see your picks before the show.
But do you want to see my picks? They're pretty bad.
Well, because
I kind of like the surprise. When
Yeah,
he said
I like
best
this.
bet and it was Texans Titans, I'm like, oh, I love my Texans pick now. And then he said Texans. I'm like, oh no, I need to rethink what I was my handicapping. There.
Well,
I
when he
see
was he
RJ's
followed a couple.
RJ's
Of
happy
mine,
as
and I'm
moment
like,
this week was
man.
when I said we're going to break coming up afterwards. RJ and I are head to head on a best bet. RJ's like, yes.
Yeah, no, RJ's like, good. That's good.
All right, that's the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and, of course, wherever you find your podcast. If you have questions about your bets, hit us up on Twitter at Will Brinson. And you know what? Everyone should, and if you have lineup advice for your fantasy football team, this is a crucial time of the year. I want you to tweet at Prisco CBS with your
No.
questions about
'Cause I
your
won't
lineup,
answer 'em.
your fantasy lineup.
I will not answer.
Any minor move, like should you drop the Jaguars defense for the Saints defense?
I
Tweet me.
promise you, if you tweet me, I'm blocking you.
Tweet.
What
Yeah,
you should
tweet us
do,
the
though,
life
with-
advice.
With your fantasy questions Sunday, hashtag ask FFT, ASK FFT. They answer everybody's questions on Twitter for hours before the game. So get your line of advice that way. They'll be on HQ. They'll be doing that kind of thing too.
It's one of my favorite.
But,
it's one of my favorite segments every week. Not.
Not
Hashtag ask FFT on Twitter. That's the way you get your line of advice, not Pete.
that is actually a good point. They will answer every single question because
We do. We answer everyone. Start.
sounds
Play.
amazing. Start,
Yeah.
sit.
No,
Go, stop.
that's not part of the show anymore. Start. Sit. Start. No more of that.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys Sunday night.